The red dust of planet Marcus IV swirled around James Miller as he ran between the rocky outcrops, his medical kit bouncing against his back. Gunfire echoed in the distance, mixed with the distinct high-pitched whine of alien weapons. This was supposed to be a joint training exercise between humans and the Krith, not a real battle. But pirates had other plans. James ducked behind a boulder as another explosion lit up the purple sky. His combat armor was dirty and scratched, but the Red Cross symbol still stood out clearly on his shoulder. 10 years as a combat medic had taught him to move fast and stay low. "Medic, we need a medic here." The call came through his radio, followed by coordinates. Without hesitation, James started running again. The voice belonged to Captain Roberts, and if he was calling for help, things were bad. The captain never asked for medical support unless absolutely necessary. As James rounded a cliff face, he stopped dead in his tracks. Before him lay a scene of chaos. 3 human soldiers were taking cover behind wrecked vehicles, trading fire with unseen enemies. But what caught his attention was the massive alien warrior lying in a pool of dark blue blood. The alien was at least 8 feet tall, even sprawled on the ground. Its armor, usually pristine silver, was torn open across the chest. James had never seen a Krith warrior badly wounded before. They were legendary for their toughness. "Miller, thank God," Captain Roberts shouted. "The pirates hit Krell with some kind of new weapon. He's bleeding out." James rushed to the fallen warrior's side, his train kicking in automatically. The Krith, Krell, was still conscious, his 4 eyes blinking slowly as they focused on James. "Hold still," James said, pulling out his medical scanner. "I'm here to help." The device beeped warnings immediately. Krell's blood pressure was dropping fast, and his heart rate was erratic. The wound had penetrated his primary heart, and his secondary heart was failing to compensate. "Human." Krell's voice was weak, but still carried its natural deep rumble. "Save your supplies. For your own kind." James ignored him, already pulling out his advanced medical kit. "That's not how I work. Everyone gets treatment." The scanner showed something else. Krell's blood type. James had studied Krith physiology during the Alliance training. Their blood was similar to human blood in many ways, carrying oxygen through their bodies. More importantly, he remembered reading that they had no concept of blood type incompatibility. Their bodies could process any Krith blood. James made a quick decision. He pulled out a transfusion kit. "What are you doing?" Captain Roberts called out between firing at the pirates. "Something either very smart or very stupid," James replied, quickly connecting one end of the tube to his arm. Their blood might be compatible enough to buy time. It was either try this or watch the alien warrior die. "Human, you dare." Krell started to protest, but his voice was getting weaker. "Yes, I dare. Now shut up and let me save your life." James connected the other end of the tube to Krell's arm port, designed for emergency medicine. He took a deep breath and activated the pump. The effect was almost immediate. As James's red blood mixed with Krell's blue blood, the alien warrior's breathing steadied. The medical scanner showed improved vital signs. "By the ancient stars," Krell whispered, his 4 eyes wide with shock. "You share your blood force with me." "That's right, big guy. And it's working." James kept watching the scanner. The wound was already showing signs of improved healing. Whatever was in human blood, it was helping Krell's natural regeneration. The firefight continued around them, but James stayed focused on his patient. After 5 minutes, he disconnected the transfusion. The scanner showed Krell was stabilized. "You will live to fight another day," James said, packing up his kit. Krell's massive hand grabbed James's arm. The grip was gentle but firm. "You have done more than save a life, human. You have created a blood bond. This will not be forgotten." James nodded, not fully understanding the significance of those words. He had no way of knowing that this simple act of compassion would change not only his life, but the relationship between 2 species forever. For now, he just had a job to do. Can you walk? We need to get you to the medical transport. Krell stood up, towering over James. Lead the way, blood brother. 3 weeks after the battle on Marcus IV, James sat in a sterile white room aboard the Krith medical station. He watched through an observation window as doctors examined Krell, who was performing physical tests that would have exhausted even the strongest human athlete. Remarkable, said Dr. Wells, the human physician assigned to study the case. He's not just recovered. He's stronger than before. James leaned forward, watching as Krell lifted weights that would have crushed a normal Krith warrior. The alien's silver skin seemed to shine with health, and all 4 of his eyes glowed with unusual brightness. Your blood did something to him, Dr. Wells continued, checking her tablet. His cellular regeneration is off the charts. His muscle density has increased by 30%. Even his reaction times are faster. Before James could respond, the door slid open. A tall Krith in elaborate robes entered the room. This was Elder Thax, one of the highest-ranking members of the Krith Medical Council. Bloodgiver, Elder Thax said, bowing slightly to James. We must speak. James stood up, still not used to such respect from the normally proud aliens. Of course, Elder. What you did on Marcus IV was more significant than you know, the Elder said, his voice deep and formal. In our history, there are legends of the blood bond. When 2 warriors share blood in battle, they become more than friends, more than brothers. Through the window, Krell finished his exercises and looked up at them. He touched his chest in a formal salute when he saw James. The blood bond is sacred to us, Elder Thax continued, but never in our records has there been a bond between a Krith and another species, and never has it produced such changes. Dr. Wells pulled up more data on her tablet. The changes aren't just physical. Krell's brain scans show increased activity in areas we didn't even know the Krith possessed. It's like your blood awakened something dormant in their biology. James rubbed his arm where he had connected the transfusion tube. I just wanted to save his life. I didn't know this would happen. Which makes your act even more noble, Elder Thax said. You risked your life without seeking reward. This is why the council has made a decision. The Elder pressed a button, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed complex DNA structures spinning slowly. Your blood carries elements our species lost long ago, Elder Thax explained. In our ancient past, before we became spacefaring, our people were different. Stronger, more adaptable. But we engineered ourselves for technological advancement, losing some of our original traits. Your human blood seems to reactivate these dormant genes. James watched as Krell left the testing area and headed toward their room. What does this mean? The door opened again, and Krell entered. He stood next to James, towering over him, but maintaining a respectful posture. It means, blood brother, Krell said, that you have given our people hope of reclaiming our full potential. The council wishes to study this further, with your permission. But more than that, Elder Thax added, you have earned the highest honor we can bestow. You are now considered Krith kin, the first human to ever hold this title. James looked between Krell and the Elder, understanding slowly dawning. His simple act of compassion had opened doors between their species that decades of diplomacy couldn't achieve. I don't know what to say, James admitted. Krell placed a massive hand on James's shoulder. Say you will help us understand this gift. Say you will stand with me as a true blood brother. The choice must be yours, Elder Thax said. But know that if you accept, you will have the full protection and resources of the Krith people. James looked up at Krell, seeing not just an alien warrior now, but a brother forged in battle. He remembered his father's words about how small acts of kindness could change the world. He never imagined they could change worlds beyond Earth. I'll help, James said simply. That's what brothers do. Krell's 4 eyes glowed with pride, and even Elder Thax showed a rare Krith smile. None of them knew that this was just the beginning of an extraordinary journey. The Krith homeworld of Praxis loomed before James as his transport ship descended through its golden atmosphere. 3 moons hung in the sky like silver jewels, and the planet's famous crystal cities sparkled below. Even after 2 months of preparation, he could hardly believe he was here. "First human to ever see our world up close," Krell said from the pilot's seat. The massive warrior handled the ship's controls with surprising gentleness. "Are you nervous, blood brother?" James watched as they passed through layers of energy shields that protected the capital city. "A little. Your message said the High Council wanted to see me urgently." Since their blood bond on Marcus IV, James had undergone countless tests on the space station. But 3 days ago, an urgent message had arrived, requesting his immediate presence on Praxis. Even Krell didn't know the full reason. The ship landed on a platform attached to a towering crystal spire. As they stepped out, James felt the slightly stronger gravity pulling at him. His specially designed suit compensated, but it still took effort to walk normally. "The council chambers are this way," Krell said, leading James through corridors that seemed to be made of living crystal. Other Krith warriors and civilians stopped to bow as they passed, a gesture that still made James uncomfortable. They entered a vast circular chamber. 7 elderly Krith sat in elevated seats, their ceremonial armor gleaming. The room was filled with holograms showing DNA strands, medical data, and what looked like ancient texts. James Miller, the central figure, spoke, his voice carrying authority that filled the chamber. "I am High Elder Vaughn. What we must discuss today will change both our peoples forever." James stepped forward, following the protocol he'd been taught. "I am honored to be here, High Elder." "Show him," Vaughn commanded. The holograms shifted, displaying images that made James's breath catch. They showed Krith warriors, but different from any he'd seen. These beings were even larger, with natural armor plates and incredible muscle density. "These are our ancestors," Vaughn explained. "Before we chose the path of technology, before we modified ourselves to better pilot our ships and operate our computers, we traded our physical might for technical advancement." Another hologram appeared, showing James's blood cells interacting with Krith DNA. "Your blood carries elements we lost," one of the other elders said. "Somehow, human DNA retained traits our ancestors deliberately removed. When combined with our blood, it reactivates these dormant genes." "But there's more," Vaughn continued. "The changes in Krell have continued to develop. He is now stronger than any Krith in 10 generations. His mind is sharper. His regenerative abilities exceed our medical technology." James glanced at Krell, who stood proud but humble. "I didn't know the changes were still happening." "Which brings us to why you are here," Vaughn said. "We have dying warriors, veterans of 100 battles, who could be saved by what you carry in your veins. But our laws are absolute. We cannot take blood without consent, and we cannot offer payment for such a sacred gift." The chamber fell silent. James understood now. They couldn't order him to help, couldn't buy his cooperation. This had to be his choice. "There are risks," another elder added. "We don't fully understand the long-term effects of human Krith blood mixing. Each transfer creates a bond that cannot be broken. You would be taking on a great responsibility." James thought about the wounded warriors, about the trust these proud people were placing in him. He thought about Krell, who had become more than just an alien ally. "With respect, High Elders," James said, "you don't need to convince me. If my blood can save lives and help your people, I'm willing to share it." The elders exchanged looks of approval. Vaughn stood, his ancient armor catching the light. "Then let it be recorded," Vaughn declared, "that on this day, James Miller has chosen to become more than Krith kin. He shall be known as Blood Giver, and his name will be written in our histories." Krell placed a hand on James's shoulder, pride radiating from all 4 of his eyes. "The journey begins, blood brother." James nodded, knowing he had just committed himself to something far bigger than he'd imagined. But looking at these noble warriors, He felt no doubt. Some choices were bigger than one person, bigger than one species. The medical chamber hummed with energy as James watched another Krith warrior rise from the treatment bed. This one, a veteran named Dax, had been paralyzed from battle wounds decades ago. Now he stood tall, his legs strong and steady. "I can walk," Dax said in wonder, his voice shaking with emotion. "After 30 years, I can walk again." James sat in his recovery chair, still feeling lightheaded from the blood transfer. It was his 4th procedure this week, but seeing results like this made the dizziness worthwhile. "His neural pathways have completely regenerated," Dr. Wells said, checking her instruments. "It's not just healing anymore, James. Your blood is literally rebuilding damaged tissue." Krell stood guard by the door, as he had for every procedure. "The word is spreading through the warrior clans. They call it the Earth Gift." Over the past month, James had shared his blood with 20 critically injured or sick Krith warriors. Each one showed remarkable recovery, but there was something else happening too. Something unexpected. "Look at this," Dr. Wells said, projecting a hologram in the center of the room. It showed complex strands of DNA shifting and changing. Each warrior who receives your blood passes the changes to their children. The dormant genes stay active in the next generation. James watched as Dax performed a perfect warrior's bow before him. "How is that possible?" "We think it's because human DNA carries traits that were natural to us once," a new voice said. Elder Thax entered the room, carrying ancient scrolls. "Our ancestors didn't just lock away their physical power. They changed what we could become." The elder spread the scrolls on a table. They showed drawings of Krith warriors who looked more like Krell did now. Stronger, more primal, yet somehow more complete. "Each warrior you help," Thax continued, "returns to what we were meant to be. And their children will be born free of the limitations we placed upon ourselves." James stood up, fighting off the last of his dizziness. "But why don't all humans have these special traits? Why does my blood work this way?" Dr. Wells pulled up more data. "We've tested other human blood samples. They all have the potential, but something about your specific genetic code makes it more compatible. It's like your DNA knows how to unlock what the Krith locked away." Dax, who had been quietly testing his restored legs, spoke up. "On the battlefield, we have a saying. The right warrior in the right place can change the course of war. Perhaps you are the right human in the right place to change the course of our species." The words hung heavy in the air. James looked at his arm, where dozens of small marks showed where he'd shared his blood. Each mark represented a life change, a warrior restored. "There's something else you should see," Dr. Wells said softly. She changed the hologram to show James's own blood cells. They were different now, altered from what they had been a month ago. "Every time you share your blood," she explained, "the returned Krith blood changes you too. It's subtle, but it's happening. Your cells are adapting, becoming something new, something neither fully human nor Krith." Krell moved closer, his massive form casting a shadow. "This is why I stay close, blood brother. We don't know what you're becoming, but you carry the future of my people in your veins. You must be protected." James watched Dax perform a series of warrior exercises, movements that had been impossible for him just hours ago. The veteran's joy was visible in every motion. "How many more warriors need help?" James asked. Elder Thax consulted his records. "Hundreds, perhaps thousands across all our worlds, but we will not demand this of you. Each sharing creates a deeper bond. Each warrior becomes your bloodkin." James stood up straighter, his decision made. "Then we better get back to work. These warriors have waited long enough." Krell's 4 eyes glowed with pride, and even Elder Thax showed rare emotion. They all knew they were witnessing something historic, the rebirth of a species, one blood transfer at a time. And somewhere in the background, James's own transformation was just beginning. James woke with a start, his heart pounding. His room in the Krith medical complex was dark, but he could see everything clearly, too clearly. This was the third night he'd noticed his vision improving in the darkness. Rising from his bed, he caught his reflection in the mirror and froze. His eyes had a faint glow to them now, similar to the Krith. Not as bright as theirs, but definitely not normal for a human. "Computer, lights," he commanded. As the room brightened, he examined himself more closely. 3 months of blood sharing had changed him in ways that couldn't be hidden anymore. His muscles were denser, though he hadn't been exercising more than usual. A cut on his arm from yesterday was already completely healed. Even his skin seemed tougher, taking on a slight silvery sheen in certain light. The door chimed, and Krell entered with Dr. Wells. "It happened again, didn't it?" she asked, pulling out her scanner. "The night vision." James nodded. "And something else. Watch this." He picked up a metal rod from her medical kit and bent it easily in half. "I couldn't do that last week." Dr. Wells ran her scanner over him while Krell watched with intense interest. "Your muscle density has increased another 20%. Your bone structure is changing too, getting stronger, more like Krith bone structure." "The blood bond grows stronger," Krell said. "You've shared blood with over 100 warriors now. Each exchange leaves its mark." The doctor projected her findings into the air. "Your DNA is rewriting itself, finding a balance between human and Krith genetics. It's like your body is evolving in real time." James flexed his hand, watching the way his skin shifted. "Am I still human?" "Yes," Dr. Wells said firmly. "But you're becoming something more." The Krith changed themselves long ago to lose their physical power. You're helping them reclaim it. But in the process, you're gaining some of their strengths too. Krell moved to the window, looking out at the Crystal City. There are stories in our oldest texts about this. Warriors who could share essence, becoming stronger together. We thought they were just legends. A sudden wave of energy surged through James's body. Without thinking, he leaped straight up, his hand touching the high ceiling 12 feet above. He landed softly, as if the increased gravity of praxis meant nothing. "That's new," he said, surprised at his own capability. Dr. Wells was frantically recording data. "Your cellular structure is stabilizing. Whatever you're becoming, it's happening faster now." "The council must be informed," Krell said. "This goes beyond healing our wounded. You're showing us a new path, a way to reclaim our heritage without losing what we've become." James sat down, feeling the strength flowing through his modified body. "Will it keep changing me?" "Yes," Dr. Wells answered honestly. "But everything I'm seeing suggests these changes are beneficial. Your body is adapting to handle greater strength, improved healing, enhanced senses. You're not losing your humanity. You're expanding it." Krell placed his massive hand on James's shoulder. "Among my people, there is a word for this. Vextal. The eternal evolution. It means to grow beyond what you were while keeping your true self." James stood and walked to the window. The 3 moons of praxis cast their light over the city, and he could see details he would have missed before. Individual Krith walking far below, the subtle patterns in the crystal buildings, the energy shields shimming in the upper atmosphere. "I'm not afraid," he realized aloud. "This feels right somehow." "It should," Krell said. "You've given hundreds of warriors back their lives. Now the universe gives you something in return." Dr. Wells finished her scans. "We'll need to monitor you closely. There's no way to know how far these changes will go." James turned to face them both, standing straighter than he ever had before. His slightly glowing eyes reflected in the window. "Then let's find out," he said. "Together." Krell's 4 eyes glowed with approval, and even Dr. Wells smiled. They all knew they were watching the birth of something unprecedented, a bridge between 2 species, a transformation that would change both humans and Krith forever. And it was only the beginning. The great arena of Praxis was filled with thousands of Krith warriors, their armor gleaming under the 3 moons. James stood in the preparation chamber, his transformed body humming with energy as he waited for the challenge to begin. "You don't have to do this," Dr. Wells said. checking his vital signs one last time. The traditionalists have no right to demand combat. But James knew better. Ever since Lord Max had denounced the blood-sharing program in the High Council, calling it an abomination that weakened the Krith species, this confrontation had been inevitable. "If I refuse the challenge," James said, "they'll use it as proof that humans are weak. Everything we've built could be destroyed." Krell entered the chamber, carrying ceremonial armor sized for James's enhanced frame. "The arena is ready, Blood Brother. Lord Max has chosen his champion." "Who?" Dr. Wells asked. "His son Rax," Krell answered grimly, "undefeated in ritual combat for 20 years. James began putting on the armor, feeling how naturally it fit his changed body. 6 months of transformation had made him something new. Not quite human, not quite Krith, but powerful in his own unique way. "Remember," Krell said, helping with the final pieces, "this is blood honor combat. No weapons, no technology. Just strength, skill, and will." The arena horns sounded, calling the combatants. James walked through the tunnel toward the fighting ground, his footsteps echoing. The gravity of praxis no longer bothered him. His body had adapted, grown stronger. He emerged into the arena to a mix of cheers and hostile growls. The Krith were divided. Many supported him after he had healed their wounded, but others feared the changes he represented. Across the sand stood Rax, nearly 9 feet tall and covered in ceremonial scars. The warrior's 4 eyes blazed with contempt. "Look at this aberration." Lord Max's voice boomed from the high seats. "This human dares to claim he is worthy of Krith blood. Let combat prove the truth." High Elder Vaughn stood as well. "The challenge is accepted. Combat will continue until submission or unconsciousness. Begin." Rax charged immediately, hoping to overwhelm James with pure strength. But months of sparring with Krell had prepared him. James moved with inhuman speed, using his smaller size to slip past Rax's grasp. "Stand still, half-breed." Rax growled, swinging massive fists. James didn't waste energy on words. He struck back, his enhanced muscles delivering blows that would have shattered concrete. Rax staggered, surprised by the power behind the attacks. The fight intensified. James could feel his transformed body responding instinctively, mixing human agility with Krith strength. His night vision helped him track every movement. His toughened skin absorbed punishment that would have killed him months ago. Rax landed a crushing blow to James's chest, but the reinforced bone structure held. James rolled with the impact, using the momentum to launch a counterattack that sent Rax sprawling. "Impossible," Lord Max shouted from above. "No human could withstand such force." "He is not merely human anymore," Krell's voice rang out. "He is blood evolution made real." The fight continued, each warrior pushing their limits. But James had something Rax didn't: the experience of 2 species combined in one body. He could think like a human while fighting like a Krith. Finally, after what seemed like hours, James saw his opportunity. He ducked under Rax's guard and executed a perfect combination of human martial arts and Krith warrior techniques. Rax toppled, and James locked him in an unbreakable hold. "Yield," James said quietly. "There is no shame in it." For a moment, pride warred with reality in Rax's 4 eyes. Then, "I yield." The arena erupted in cheers. James helped Rax to his feet, showing respect to a worthy opponent. High Elder Vaughn's voice cut through the noise. "The challenge is decided. Let no one question the worth of James Miller again." Even Lord Max was silent, his opposition broken by the undeniable proof of combat. James stood in the center of the arena, his slightly glowing eyes scanning the crowd. He had proven himself not just worthy of Krith blood, but capable of showing them a new path forward, one where change meant evolution, not weakness. The future suddenly seemed much brighter under Praxis' 3 moons. 1 year after the arena challenge, James stood before the combined council of Earth and Praxis. The grand meeting hall sparkled with crystal light, filled with both human and Krith leaders. The joint evolution program has exceeded all expectations, James reported, his slightly glowing eyes scanning the audience. Over 1,000 injured Krith warriors have been healed through controlled blood sharing. Their children show the reactivated genetic traits naturally. High Elder Vaughn nodded in approval. And what of the human volunteers? James gestured to a group of humans standing nearby. Like him, they showed signs of transformation. Subtle silver skin tones, increased height and strength, and faintly glowing eyes. 200 human medical personnel have undergone supervised transformation, James continued. Each one can now help heal Krith warriors without risking genetic rejection. We call them the bridge healers. Dr. Wells, herself now showing signs of change, stepped forward with holographic data. The transformation is stable in both species. Humans gain strength and healing while keeping their adaptability. Krith regain their ancient power while maintaining their technological advances. The Earth representatives leaned forward with interest. One asked, "Are there any negative effects?" "None," James answered. "But the process creates permanent bonds. Each bridge healer becomes part of the Krith warrior clans they help. It's not just a medical procedure, it's a joining of cultures." Krell, standing proud in his ceremonial armor, spoke next. Already, the changed warriors show greater understanding of human ways. The blood bond brings wisdom with its strength. The hall filled with murmurs of approval. Even Lord Max, once opposed, now sat quietly accepting. His son Rax had become one of the program's strongest supporters after his defeat in the arena. "We propose expanding the program," James said, "creating medical centers on both Earth and Praxis where voluntary transformation and healing can take place. A true bridge between our species." High Elder Vaughn stood, his ancient armor gleaming. "Let it be recorded that on this day we recognize the bridge healers as a new branch of both human and Krith society. They shall be the living bond between our peoples." The Earth Council president rose as well. "Earth agrees. The Bridge Healer program will have our full support." James looked at his transformed hands, remembering the simple choice he'd made that day on Marcus IV. One act of compassion had grown into something that would reshape two species. "There's more," Dr. Wells added. "The children of transformed humans and healed Krith show remarkable qualities. They represent the next step in both our species' evolution. Not better, just different. Adapted for a future where humans and Krith walk the same paths." James watched as Krell's youngest child, born after his healing, played with the daughter of a bridge healer. Both children showed characteristics of both species, yet remained uniquely themselves. "The old texts speak of a time when the galaxy would be united by blood and honor," Krell said. "We thought it meant conquest. Instead, it meant this: healing, growth, and willing transformation." The council members began signing the formal agreements, but James' attention was on the children playing in the corner. They represented everything he had hoped for. Proof that differences could become strengths. That change didn't mean loss. "What's next, blood brother?" Krell asked quietly. James smiled, his transformed eyes glowing slightly brighter. "We keep building bridges. There are other species out there, other ways to grow. The galaxy's a big place." As the ceremony concluded, James looked out at the crystal cities of Praxis. Somewhere out there, a wounded warrior was being healed by a bridge healer, bonds were being formed, and the future was being reshaped one drop of blood at a time. His simple act of compassion had grown into something greater than himself. Not just a medical program or a diplomatic breakthrough, but a new way forward for both species. And as Praxis's 3 moons rose in the purple sky, James knew this wasn't an ending. It was just the beginning of an even greater adventure. The legacy would continue, growing stronger with each new bridge built between the stars.